Here we go. Restarting. All right. Hello. Good to see you. It has been I think the last podcast episode I did was in 2021, maybe 22. I don't even know. I think it's been about 4 years since I did one of these. So this is kind of like a practice test show. This is not the new studio. I know I said I would be in a new studio. This isn't it. This is kind of like a off the cuff thing. I have a little bit of time in between editing, and frankly, I've been putting this first episode off because I have imposter syndrome, and I don't know. I think that's why I stopped doing it in the first place, was because I had imposter syndrome, and I felt like I was kind of using people for their stories. And I had some guests reach out to me like, hey, why don't you do it anymore? And I kind of told them that, and they were like, dude, no, it was dope. Like it was almost kind of therapeutic for them. That's what they told me. Maybe they're lying. I don't know. But yeah, they said it was cool. It was chill. It was a chill sitch. And I've been talking to people, and when you're growing your business, if you're good at business, not that I'm saying I'm the best at business, but if you're good at business, you listen to people a lot, and you talk to them about more than just their business or, surface level talk. You try to get into deeper topics, and that's kind of what I try to do because I like to talk to people. So in doing that, I realized that a lot of people have a lot to say, and if you're willing to hear them out, it's phenomenal. It's a fun time. So I want to do this again. I think last time I would say like, oh, I don't really care, I'm just going to do whatever. But I kind of did care, and I don't know. But this time, whatever, fuck it. I don't really know what this is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to do, a podcast. I don't think I'm going to do a podcast every week. I'm going to bank some stuff here and there. Yeah, just so, if you come across this, I don't know why you would, but follow me on Instagram at Mallorca Media. That's MAYORCA MEDIA, and that's where I'll post like, oh, new guests. I have like 2 or 3 guests lined up, but after that, I don't really know what's going to happen. But I did tell myself that I was going to continue this. So it's not like I'm going to move this table while I talk, but it's not like I'm just going to give up by the weekend. I made a promise to myself that I would continue this, whether it's every 2 weeks, every month. Yeah, whatever. So with that being said, let's kind of dive into my rant. Not my rant, but what I want to talk about. I have some notes on my phone. Yeah, it's been about 4 years since I did the last one, and I've learned a lot about a lot. I'm 30 years old now. I have longer hair. I'm engaged, which is wild. Melissa and I started dating, I think, in the beginning of this. Was I doing the podcast? I think I started it kind of in the middle of when we were dating. Or maybe I already had it. I don't know. But yeah, and we've grown a lot together, obviously. And yeah, last year I was like, hey man, I'm just going to do it. I went to a store in a place, and no, I went to the jewelry store. Shout out my friend Kara. She told me about it. Collins Family Jewelers. They were dope. They took care of me. This is not sponsored. But yeah, they took care of me, and the dude was like, what kind of diamond, what kind of this, what kind of that, what's the size? Boom. And it was over in like 20 minutes. And I was like in shock. And then I proposed in Sequoia National Park. The video's, again, on my Instagram. But yeah, that was probably one of the biggest things that's happened. I also got off of antidepressants, which was pretty big. And I've had a lot of people ask me about antidepressants and how that whole process went. If I'm still depressed, if I still have anxiety, it never goes away. Anxiety, I feel like I don't have as much as I used to. or maybe it comes up in like different ways or different forms. But yeah, depression, I don't really think it ever goes away. Like if you have it, but you learn to manage and you learn to kind of not cope, but I don't know. It's almost like a little, I used to talk about it like it was kind of like the little devil and angel or whatever on your shoulder. And it's kind of just like a demon behind you that's just like, be sad, be tired. And you can either listen to it and give up or, you keep fighting. I think a lot of it too now, since like before I was going to college, so I was like super busy with school and, stressed out about that. And that was the source of my anxiety. And then as soon as I was done with school, I didn't have anything to be anxious about. So then I would just get depressed. Now what happens, this really fun thing that happens is, I own my own business and I do, work, social media work, content, all that. I hate that word content, but, I do stuff for clients. So whenever they don't like something, I've done a really good job of this not happening anymore, but when they don't like something, I don't spiral, but I'm like, dude, maybe I should just give up. Maybe I should just go corporate. I don't know if I can do this. But it doesn't last that long. It lasts maybe like 10 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's turn this around. And I talk to the client and say, hey, if you don't like it, then what can we change? And do we need to reshoot? And a bunch of other questions. So I've kind of wised up on that. But yeah, I'm off antidepressants. I didn't just get off of them though. You should never do that. First of all, you should never get on antidepressants if you haven't consulted like a doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist. Like if you've done all the research and been like, hey, you know what? Maybe it is something beyond my diet or lack thereof and exercise or lack thereof. Maybe it's something in my brain. When you come to that conclusion, then maybe they're for you, but what do I know? But yeah, I talked to my therapist and she weaned me off of them. I told her, I was like, I think I'm good. I want to try life without them. And we kind of talked about like weaning off of them, and that's what I did. So it went from taking them, I think it was something like you take one, you had to do every day, and then it went to every other day, and then it was half every other day or something like that. And then it was like half of one every 2 days. Like it was like super, I was probably weaning off of them for like 16 weeks maybe. And it was like intervals of 4 weeks or something like that. I don't really remember, which is kind of nuts. But yeah, I finally got off of them. I was kind of nervous and things ended up just kind of going well because I kept going to therapy and I kept talking and all that stuff. And then I almost had like a little bit of an awakening of like, oh, I don't know about awakening, but I maybe, I realized I had the tools to live on my own, not on my own, but like without therapy. I kind of graduated myself. I don't know if I should say that, but yeah, I just kind of slowly stopped going. And I mean, I feel like sometimes I need it, but I've just kind of learned to live without it. I've learned to do healthy things like work out, or even healthier when I really, really don't feel like getting out of bed. And maybe it's like a long week. I'm like, okay, one of these days I'm just going to do either office work at home or I'm really just going to take the whole day off. And that's helped a ton. I think therapy helped a lot with understanding like triggers and also understanding when I'm kind of burning myself out and running on anxiety. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things that would hurt me back then. I mean, I still hustle and I still work a lot, but I think it's in healthy amounts a little bit sometimes. But yeah, I realized in my early 20s, I kind of missed half of my 20s because I was busy trying to get things that I didn't have, like money, more work through my my business. I mean, at first it was like jobs. I had to get a job because I was straight out of college and I was like, can't be a loser. And then I wasn't getting hired. So then I was like, oh my God, now I'm sad. Everyone hates me. But that kind of subsided. That subsided kind of not quickly, but yeah, that fear was gone once business was going well. And then I get into a bunch of debt. So that was a lot of fun. I think I was $15,000 in debt in 2020 or by 2023. By 2023, I was like I was pretty bad in debt. And the thing is, they say you got to spend money to make money when you start a business. But if you're spending recklessly, that's probably not the best thing to do. And that's what I did. So let's say I would buy a piece of equipment and then I would be like, well, I'll make it back on this next job. But then I would buy another piece of equipment on top of that. So then I paid off this mic that I needed for the one job, but then I also bought that new $200 tripod and I put that on a credit card and I was like, oh shoot, next job. Well, I liked going out and I liked having fun with my friends, which is great. And I don't regret it at all. But then I would spend more money and then I didn't have any cash. So then for another job, I would need, let's say, I don't know, a light. So I'd buy that light. Now I'm in debt with I know I'm teaching you what debt is, which a lot of you probably know. But these were the shitty habits that I was doing. So now I had to pay off the tripod. I had to pay off the light. And then that's just how I was living. It was bad. And then there was like no signs of stopping. So when in my early 20s, I was in debt. I probably had a $1,500 thing. And I had like a part-time job. I didn't make very much money. And my mom bailed me out. She bailed me out like twice, dude. Just because she's nice, My mom's the shit. She's awesome. But she was like, you can't be in debt. You can't start your 20s like this. I'm going to pay this off and then you have to cancel that credit card. I was like, okay, I'll cancel it. As soon as I canceled it, 2 months later, I was like, Target credit card, here we go. And I just kind of had that, like, I never had money. I think Hispanics too. This happens to Hispanics a lot. We don't have money growing up. Like, I was dirt poor, I was like lower middle class, but I always heard, oh, let's wait till Friday when they pay your dad. And for like the first half of my life, my mom didn't have a job, and then she got a job, and then she would kind of spoil us a little bit, and we'd go out. But she was extremely responsible. They've always been great with money. But I hated hearing that as a kid, where I was like, why do we have to wait till next Friday? And then obviously I'm a kid, so I would forget about next Friday, and I would never get the thing that I wanted. So, and I still kind of have this. When I have something in my brain where I'm like, ooh, I need to buy this, I buy it. Like, I don't even have money for it. At the time, I didn't have money for it, and I would buy it. I'd be like, fuck it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to buy it. I need it for my business. But then I also needed to go out with my friends, and I also needed to, date around and spend money that way. So it was like, I was saying about like the Hispanics and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of part of our culture where we're like trying to keep up with appearances and buying the Gucci bags and all that shit. Yeah, when it comes to debt, like it's awful, man. So I moved out of my parents' house like mid-20s, and then that's when I was like, oh shit. Because for the longest time I had to be a student, and then I was building up my business, so I was in debt. And then I had to pay rent, and it was like, and I know a lot of people, I went to a commuter school, so I lived at home. I didn't really have to worry about much. But a lot of people learn this lesson early in life, whereas I learned it like mid-20s, late 20s, And then things got a little bit more serious with my now fiance, and I was like, I want to propose, but I have a lot of debt. And probably when I thought about proposing, I was probably like $20,000 in debt. And dude, I was making like 30,000. I have no idea how I made it. But anyway, on top of that, I had to pay rent, and I had to keep my fiance, happy, and we'd go on dates and stuff. And yeah, so 2023 was my broke year. And the cool thing was I talked to Melissa. That's my fiance's name. And I was like, just a heads up, I need to cut back because I'm trying to pay some debts down. I also was trying to propose, but I didn't tell her that. And I was straight up with her. I was like, I have plans for our future, and I don't want this to, be the ball and chain on my ankle. And she was like, cool. So I learned how to make pizza from scratch. I learned how to make a lot of things from scratch, which was fantastic with saving money, especially when you get like a craving and you're like, man, I really want, Chick-fil-A. I'm just going to make it myself. So yeah, I got out of debt December 2023. And then 2024, I was like, all right, you're out of debt. You know what to do. And I think February of 2024 last year, or March, I don't even remember. I don't know what day it is today. I bought an engagement ring, and I was like, yo, sick. But yeah, that was probably one of the biggest things. I don't know how I got here from therapy, but I guess that's what podcasting is. Yeah. Oh shit. I was talking about antidepressants. Woo. This is, my mouth is already dry. I don't know. I changed my mind. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, who's listening? Anyway, so yeah, got out of debt, got off of antidepressants, got engaged, and yeah, learned a lot about money. I'm finally in my 30s. I wish I could tell this to my younger self. Hey man, you're good. Slow down. You're going to start making money. And I have a savings account finally, which is crazy. That's crazy. That's so crazy to say. I have like disposable income. That's kind of embarrassing, but yeah, I realize a lot of people were in the situation that I was in. I did a little poll on Instagram where I was like, do you have at least $2,000 to save up? Do you have at least $2,000 saved up for a quote unquote emergency? And a lot of people said yes. But probably an equal amount or more said no. Which I think Dave Ramsey, which not a fan, but he recommends $1,000, which that is so 90s. But yeah. Anyway, if you want me to talk more about debt, maybe I'll do a thing. What's it called? An episode about that? Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm not the same person that I was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I think it's for the better. I mean, you kind of learn, you grow. But you have to kind of realize that a lot of people want to be you. And that sounds like cocky, but sometimes we sit there and we think about kind of the shitty stuff that's happening in our lives, and we're like, man, woe is me. I can't believe this is happening. And it's easy to kind of fall into that negativity. And I'm a pessimist, dude. I'm the biggest pessimist ever. And I'm kind of a negative person. But when it comes to like mental health and like work and stuff, it's all positivity. I try to be. But yeah. Let's say you have 2 kids and I don't know, things are kind of, you're like struggling a little bit, and you and your partner or whatever, you're just constantly like, man, this sucks. Like, we can't keep up. There's somebody who can't have kids, and they look at you and go, oh, look at that beautiful family. Sometimes we just got to sit there and like count our blessings. And that's something I didn't do in my 20s and I guess all in my 20s, maybe later in my 20s. But yeah, in my early 20s, I was bitching about what I didn't have, and what I did have, it like wasn't good enough for me, and I constantly wanted more. That's probably why I got into debt. But yeah, that was a time. Um, something else. What else have I learned, man? Something else that I learned, which is kind of sad, is conversation. I was talking about this. I don't know if this is the episode or not the episode, but this is the take. I did like 3 or 4 takes, by the way, before I started this. But I was saying that I was talking to a lot of people when I was like doing business stuff, or when I was like working with clients. And I work with like bigger entities. So I try to, by bigger entities, I mean like, like storefront businesses or whatever. And there are a lot of employees. But maybe the boss contracted me and I'm working straight with them, but I see the front desk person all the time. I'm going to talk to that person because, I mean, first of all, don't be rude, talk to people. But second of all, it teaches you more when you talk and when you ask questions and when you listen. I feel like conversation and listening, they go hand in hand. I feel like a lot of people don't know how to have a conversation. I don't want to be, fuck it. I met this person at a place. I'm going to be very vague. But long story short, this person, they asked me, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I do media for companies. I do a lot of real estate." And this person goes, "Oh, I'm in the same sector." And I go, "Oh, that's very cool." And then I ask them a question and they go, "Yeah, man, I started off doing this and then I was doing this and then I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that." And I found myself just sitting there, not like, even my responses like, mm-hms and, "Oh yeah, that's crazy," they would get cut off, dude. And this guy was just talking at me, or this person, whatever. This guy was just talking at me and I'm sitting there going, mm-hmm. "Oh yeah, it's crazy. Oh, really? Oh, wow." Maybe like 10, 12 minutes. Not even exaggerating. And I was like, and this dude was like in the entrepreneur space or whatever. But I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, do you listen to your clients? Like, do you ever let them talk? Do they ever tell you, "Hey, can you do this?" And you're just kind of like, and it's fine. Dude, I tend to yap all the time. And I tell my friends like, "Yo, shut me up." Or I'll text them later because I get like self-conscious. I'm like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. All I did was talk." And they're like, no, it's cool. They're obviously pissed. But yeah, conversation is a lost art form because everyone's just, and I'm gonna be such an old guy, dude, such a old man yelling at the cloud, but everyone's on their damn phones, man. And that's, when you think about it, that's how we talk to each other on the phone. It's like, "Yo, you coming?" "Yeah, outside." No one's like, "Hello, good morning, how are you?" Blah, blah. Unless you're like in business life or whatever. There's no like imagine me texting my homie just being like, "Hey, good morning, "Good morning, Mike. I hope you had an amazing day yesterday. Listen, I was wondering." No, I'm like, "Yo, Mike, where you at?" And I think that's kind of translated into talking. And some people just don't like get the hint. Like this person I was talking to was just talking at me, man. And like, I was like, okay. And then I would respond like 2 or 3, like maybe I would do this thing where I would try to maybe reel it back to me to be like, "Oh yeah, that's happened to me before too." Wouldn't even go, "Oh really? How?" Or like, "Oh, that's crazy. Let's expand on that." No, man, this guy just kept talking at me. And I was just like, "All right, well, good talking to you. Nice meeting you." Like, dude, that's unbelievable, man. Like, I don't know. I feel like conversation is just such a lost art form. And maybe that's why I want to do the podcast again, because I want to talk to people that I like talking to. And I don't know, talk. Let's see. I have notes here because I'm kind of fried, man. I'm pretty brain fried. But Let's make sure the cameras are still good. One of them has one bar, so that's really cool. Shout out to Sony. I've learned a lot about friendships. I've learned that people are willing to deal with a bunch of shit just because they're friends with somebody for a very long time. And I've seen this before. I mean, I noticed it in my 20s, and when I would stand up and say something, I was the asshole. And it was always like that. And it's always been like that. And it's not even, you know what? Let's go back. It's not even just friendships. It's relationships, man. I know so many people that are in shitty relationships because they're like, well, we've been together this long. What? That's insane to me when somebody says, well, we've been together this long. And you've been together for like 4 years, dude. That's a bachelor's degree. You don't know anything when you graduate college. And you're in there for 4 years. That's unbelievable. You're in a 4-year, 5-year, 6-year, even 7-year relationship. And it sucks. And you're like, well, I might as well just get used to this. That's unbelievable to me. And I've seen so much of that. Like, in my early 20s, even now in my 30s, I'm like, yo, you guys are still together? Like, people are like, yeah, I'm really happy. And you notice things, or if someone starts bitching about their partner, like if that's the first thing they start doing, maybe, I don't know. You fill in the blanks. But, yeah, I've noticed it with friendships too. People that are like, well, we've been friends since, elementary school, or we grew up together. So, and I'm like, dude, this person just called you a bitch and like slapped you in the face. Oh, well, that's how they are. Oh, that's probably one of the biggest things that sets me off is when I hear, oh, that's how they are. A change. If someone goes, hey man, you keep farting around me, please stop. And I'm the farter, I'm going to stop farting. If they go, hey man, it's so stupid. If my fiance goes, hey, you fart all the time. This is so childish, but if you fart all the time, I don't like it. It's, I've asked you before, like, could you just honestly please stop? Then I'd be like, oh my, I didn't know it was hurting you this much. I'll stop. That's just me, man. So if somebody goes like, hey man, you're making this joke, I don't really like it. Dude, your friends, you should be able to say anything to your friends when it comes to like setting boundaries. But yeah, I've realized people just kind of, I don't know, man. Like, it's almost like they'll let shit happen, or they'll let someone do something that repeatedly pisses them off just because they have history. And it's like, that's extremely toxic. And speaking of toxic, I kind of want to talk about, I want to talk about a lot, but I don't want to ramble too much. This will be a short one. I want to talk about therapy. I want to talk about therapy because I've been a big proponent of therapy, and I love therapy. I think therapy is extremely important. I think people need to sit down and hash things out. And the way I've always explained it is like, therapy is you grab all your thoughts from your brain, you lay them down on the table, and you kind of like put the puzzle pieces together. That's kind of what it helped me with. It didn't help me didn't cure me by any means, but it helped me kind of talk, put everything out on the table, and then be like, oh shit, I'm the problem. Or maybe I shouldn't be with this person or hang out with this person or whatever. I'm miserable right now. What can I do to change that? And some people can't do that, on their own. And that, that's okay. But it's turned into this like kind of culture, quote unquote culture, of whatever my therapist says goes. And also therapists that cater to their patients because they're kind of the customer. That customer-based therapy where it's like, I don't know, let's say Jane goes to therapy and she's like, hey man, my cat keeps giving me like dirty looks. I'm not really vibing with it. And, they'll be like, well, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's warranted? And blah, blah, blah. And Jane will be like, yeah, I mean, my cat scratched me a couple times. And the therapist will be like, the cat scratched you. You think that's okay? And Jane will be like, well, I mean, that's what cats do, don't they? They kind of scratch. Oh, then the therapist will be like, oh, well, I mean, but you have this feeling for a reason, right? And they'll be like, it's almost like they kind of like corner them into a thought, and then they go, oh shit, I need to get rid of my cat. My cat has been in my life for 16 years, but it scratched me. It gave me dirty looks once. I hate this thing. Yeah, I've had friends who maybe are dating girls or something that are like the therapy girls, and they're like, oh, well, my therapist said that, I shouldn't hold your hand yet because it's only been a year or some, I don't know, outlandish stuff. And it's also bringing up this like victim mentality in people where it's like, oh, well, my therapist says that this is a trigger. So, like clapping. Oh, clapping is a trigger. So I shouldn't go to concerts. What? No. What is happening? I don't know, man. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe someone needs to be like, hey, Felix, that's not how that's not how it's working. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people just be like, yeah, man, I'm dating this girl. She's going to therapy. It's really cool. It's really cool that she's healthy. And then they'll start telling me like, oh, and it's not just girls. I'm just saying it's not, guys do it too. But they'll be like, yeah, she her therapist kind of told her to, break up with me because she had some weird thoughts. And it's like, what? Are you being toxic or anything? And they're like, and again, maybe there's two sides to the story. Who knows? But yeah, they'll be like, yeah, man, I don't really know what I did. She just kind of said, oh, my therapist, blah, blah, blah. Buddy, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know. My therapist, Judy, was the shit. She would call me out a lot, actually. And she would, in a good way, she would be like, well, should you really feel that way? Think about it. Blah, blah, blah. Or she would be like, do you want my advice or do you want me just to listen? And I go, some advice would be nice, And she'd go, well, let's look at the big picture. And then she'd kind of narrow it down. And it would help me realize, again, sometimes I was the problem. A lot of times I was the problem. But yeah, man, this new culture, I don't know if it's like TikTok or whatever, but this new culture of therapy is like, it's almost like gentle parenting. It doesn't really work. It's just kind of like patting on the back. And yeah, I don't know, man. Go to therapy, but also try to find the right therapist, man. Make sure you're actually moving along in your life, and also do things in your life to advance you. Don't just sit there and be like, well, I go to therapy, so I'm super healthy and my mental health is incredible. That's bullshit. You know what else is bullshit is hustle culture. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these dudes on, it's always dudes too. And I think there's one chick, but she's affiliated with a dude. It's like this guy named Andy Elliott. He was a car salesman, and now he like does this, oh, sales is war, and like, dude, no. I think we've been inundated with these hustle guys so much that it's creating this like lost generation of like, people are like, well, I'm 25, I'm not a millionaire yet. Like, dude, you haven't even worked for it, man. Well, I'm gonna drop out of college because college is bullshit because this guy whose course I bought that's what he said. Dude. It's also bleeding into the video world. And I guess in media, there's a lot of these dudes who they'll follow certain videographers or photographers, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on in my industry, man. But this is one that kind of bugs me. The person will be like, oh, here's my course to make $10,000 a month. They'll sell them like this pretty generic ass course, which every single business course, usually, I haven't bought all of them, but I've gone to the seminars just to see like what's up, the little like Zoom, here's a Zoom link. They're all the same. It's like, start with your circle of influence, from there, they'll tell their friends, they'll tell their friends, and they'll tell their friends, and then you'll grow and blah, blah, blah. Be persistent, follow up. Pretty much what you have to do in business. And like a lot of people don't really know this because they didn't like learn the hard way like I did. So they'll be like, this is revolutionary, man, and it's working, and here's more of my money. And that's just how it continues. But in, I guess, videography, photography, the media space right now, which social media marketing and all that shit is huge. But there's dudes that will give them a template. And I can tell when you've done that. Because it's usually like someone who someone who like was kind of like floating around in life. And then they found this course that, of course, promised them $10,000 a month. You could, scale your business, all that shit. They'll buy the camera. They'll get paid 2 or 3 times, and then they'll go, hey, I'm a professional. They won't edit any of their work, and you can tell. And they'll ride this wave of professionalism, quote unquote, and get your money, dude. Like 100%. I'm never against, I love the free market. I think it's beautiful that you could buy a camera and you can just start a business. What I don't like is when you start stealing clients, undercutting others, going to like other clients' pages and being like, hey, I saw your video. I could definitely do a better job. Here's how much I charge. And it's dirt cheap. And of course the client's going to be like, oh yeah, that's cool. You build no relationships. And I'm getting hot right now. You build no relationships. You don't give a shit about the client. You just care about that fucking paycheck. And all you did was buy a course, buy a camera, get hired a couple times, and you go, I'm a professional. You've never edited your own stuff, and it shows. But the client doesn't care because they just got a cheap video, and they're like, whatever. Guess what? They're going to move on to the next copy-pasted person. That's just how it works. And there's a network of dudes here in San Diego that are phenomenal. Maybe in the next podcast or like show notes or something, I'll add their ats. But these dudes survived the pandemic. And I know because I'm like from this quote unquote class. These dudes started before the pandemic. We all started kind of like as a hobby, as like the full-time filmmaker, YouTube channel and all that stuff. And like Peter McKinnon, we all kind of went on the same, in the same direction, the same wave. And then we survived all the pandemic and the craziness and stuff. And there's a bunch of us that like, we did the hard work and we worked with those shitty clients. And we didn't fake it. I know the whole fake it till you make it. And I say that sometimes too. But we worked for years for free. And we worked for whatever we could. We worked 2 or 3 jobs if we could, and then do the side hustle, or one job, do the side hustle. And I guess we rose through the ranks. Now it's become very mainstream and very easy to have like some guy in the Philippines like edit your stuff. And I use editors. I'm not going to lie to you. I use editors all the time. I love editors. They're fantastic. But I've done the work so much that I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to send this one to an editor. This one's a little tedious. I'm going to send this one to an editor. When it comes to like the art and all that stuff, like I've learned about lighting. I've learned about focal lengths. I can spot a video and be like, oh yeah, they probably should have done this with the lighting. Again, or I don't know if I said this before. I'm not perfect. I still mess up. And I'm not like, Scorsese or whatever. Right now I'm kind of in my like storytelling era and kind of lighting and all that stuff. But yeah, my biggest beef is with these Temu videographers or photographers. Or, oh my God, we have these in the wedding industry that have been popping up. They make $10,000. It's always like $10,000 or above. I think I saw one that was like how to make $20,000 as a wedding photographer. I think it was photographer. And they'll sell a course. It's always a fucking course. They'll sell a course, and then that's all they do. They sell that course. They're no longer a photographer. So they recycle the same images that maybe they shot 2 or 3 weddings, like really expensive weddings, like it just kind of fell in their lap, or maybe they work for it. I don't know what the whole story is, but these people, they do the thing once, they make the money once or whatever, and then they say, hey, I did it, I can teach you. Which technically, it's not a lie, right? They did it. Now, the reason I know this, and I know that it's not $10,000 or $15,000 every every month is because I saw one of these people. It was like a content marketer or whatever. And she was like, I used to be a nurse and now I make, I think she said, I make $30,000 a month. And people were like, hey, this doesn't make sense. So you make this much money? And she was like, well, I'm just basing it off of my last 30-day sales. So you're basing it on the last 30. So in the last 30 days, you made $30,000 or whatever the thing was. Let's say it was 50,000. No, let's say 30,000. Let's say you made 30,000 that 1 month. What did you do the month before, or the month before that, or the year before that, or the 2 years before that, or the months now? So all these people are just lying, man. And that's what bugs me is they'll use these like, oh, high money, big money, blah, blah, blah. They'll take these poor people's money because everyone wants that financial freedom, quote unquote. And they're just screwing people over. And they give generic advice. Or they're like, hey, here's be a affiliate marketer or whatever. Amazon. Scale your business. They use buzzwords. And it's like, dude, you're lying to people. That bugs me. That grinds my gears, man. But anyway, I think that's it. That's all on my list. I mean, not everything, but I'm already talking too long. And this camera's running out of battery. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to upload a couple more videos soon, or podcasts. Keep listening. If you want somebody on, let me know. Yeah. Thank you. Bye. Take care of yourself. Or I don't know how I used to end these. All right. Bye.